Like me, and avoid using tripods, even though you know there are times when you should use one. You find them a little bit too bulky or heavy, and that's what the excuse is that you give when you decide not to use one. Well, stick around, and you'll see how tripods are getting better. Tripods. You either love them or hate them. This is Bill Booz, and this is another episode of Photography and Technology Tools. The topic, obviously, today is tripods. And for a guy who didn't really like tripods, I obviously have a bunch of them. And that's part of the problem and part of the lesson. I'm that guy who didn't want to spend any money to get a tripod. I didn't think I needed a tripod, and I didn't want to spend the big bucks to get one. So the first one I bought was probably less than $30 or thereabout. And this one might even be it. And ironically enough, its name is Etna. And it was no insurance for me. But it's kind of lost its spring over the years. And these don't really stick out nice and easy. But as I pulled it out today for this video, I realized it has a panning head that probably would be pretty good for using for video. So anyway, any old tripod that I'm not using, I can use for clamp lights. Just like this short travel tripod that I got that you see in the picture now, I'm using that for a clamp light, and I got it because it was relatively small and packed up in a nice little pack, and I took it with me on trips, but I just didn't use it. Photographers who've gone through this whole routine will advise you, wait, just stop, spend the money, and get a good tripod to start with. Then you'll save all that money on the tripod that you'll spend on all these flimsy tripods that you end up not using. These aren't flimsy tripods right here. This actually is one. There was another early one I got. It's a Samsonite. Probably got it at Best Buy or someplace like that. And it pulls out as a normal size tripod, and the center post pulls up as most tripods do to give it the extension. So it's in the typical. It'll reach the typical height. And this too, when I pulled it out, because again I use this for clamp lights oftentimes. But when I pulled it out, I realized it's a pretty nice panning head. I probably could have saved myself some money on some of the things that I've bought recently to use just for that, for using with video. So it's not a bad tripod. It's light, it's aluminum, but I could just never justify spending hundreds and hundreds of dollars on the tripod and then the ball head, the thing that goes on top that holds your camera. I just couldn't bring myself to spend that money. But if you think about it, you're spending hundreds and hundreds and probably thousands and thousands of dollars on cameras. Maybe not thousands and thousands, but you've got an expensive camera. So why not put it on a substantial tripod? That's the argument that most photographers will give you. Well, that didn't convince me either. And then, a couple of years ago, I switched to these mirrorless Micro Four Thirds cameras, the Olympus cameras that I use. And both of the ones that I have right now, the EM1 and the EM5 Mark II, have excellent 5-axis image stabilization. So again, you really don't need a tripod all the time. So that's kind of made it difficult for me to bite the bullet and spend more money on a tripod. Photographer friends, though, recently convinced me that I needed to have a better tripod, that a tripod was a good thing to take with you, especially if you're going to do night shots, and especially if you're going to do like live composite that we can do on our Olympus cameras, which is really basically a long exposure capturing the light as it paints its way, the lights as they paint across your frame. And so I did break down and I bought this Me Photo road trip, and it was, I believe, about $190, $180 or so, and that seemed like a lot of money to me, which I know is extremely cheap compared to what the big boys buy. It came with a ball head, and again, you typically, on a really, really professional tripod, you buy your own ball head. So I've got a variety of ball heads here that none of them are terribly expensive, and as I said, this one came with it. So I got this road trip, and one of the things that attracted me to buying this particular model is that this one leg comes off, and it becomes, and then you attach the center to it, and you can use it as not a selfie. Well, you could use it as a selfie stick, but you can use it as a monopod, which that made that very attractive. So I got this, and it collapses to a reasonable size. I'll put the numbers on the screen, and it's not terribly heavy. You know, it's about 3.5 pounds, I think, a little bit more than 3.5 pounds. So it's not terribly heavy, and it comes in a nice bag. But it really, again, I wasn't convinced that I needed to take it with me all the time. So I bought this one, the Me Photo Day Trip, I think it's called. And it too comes in a nice bag, as you can see here, and it folds up extremely small. So that's really very nice, and it's you know, it's a bit lighter. Not a bit. It's lighter than the backpack or the road trip. The backpack is lighter. I'm getting my tripods confused. This is the day trip, and so it's lighter than the road trip, but it is small. You know, it will only extend a total to 2 feet or so, so 24 inches. But it's useful as a tabletop, or if you put it on something, a wall or something when you're traveling, and because it's small, it's something you're more likely to take with you. But did I? Not really. Before I started buying those tripods, though, I got this Lollipod, and I blame Derek Story for this, because he was talking about it and talked how cool it was. And then they come in all kind of crazy colors, just as the Me Photos do. I've got an orange one, I've got a red one, and now I have a blue one. We'll talk about that in a second. But this one, this is the Lollipod, and for what it is, it's a fairly expensive little tripod. But it folds up so nice and small and it's very, very light. And it's really only for very lightweight things. So like putting an iPhone or a smartphone on it, or I've used it, I'll take it with me because it does fold up so small, and I'll take it with me and I can use it to hold my EM1, but I'm kind of reinforcing it. It's just really used mainly to make sure that the camera is more stabilized than it would be without it. Recently, for no good reason, well, actually there was a good reason. Derek Story convinced, listening to Derek Story, he recommended it. And it's the new Air series from Me Photo, the lighter tripods, not quite as grippy as the other models that they have, the heftier models. But this is the Me Photo Backpack Air. And again, it folds up very, very small. It's great to use with my iPhone, and it comes with this clip for a smartphone, as well as a Bluetooth release button, so you can use it for releasing or shooting your camera remotely from that little button, which is a nice addition to the pack. And it folds up likewise very small. So I'll put the dimensions and the weight, but it comes in at just a little bit less than 2 pounds less than this one. So it's a nice weight, and it doesn't come in the hefty bag, but it comes in a nice bag, and I'm hoping that this will be one that I'll take with me all the time. It's much better and more versatile really than the Lollipod. It's a little heavier, but I can get it in my bag, and or I can carry it separately. I haven't tried that yet on a plane, but we'll see how that goes. All the rules in the planes are changing so much anyway. But as I said, it does come with this smartphone holder, which is really nice. So I use this if I'm doing my video update recordings in the chair over here and not at the desk where I can put the phone above me. Or I'll use it for, I can also use it with my EM5 Mark II if I want to take, use it on the go. I'm not limited to just a small camera like the little Panasonic GM5 or a smartphone. It'll hold the EM5 Mark II quite well, so that's not a problem. But what I'm finding is I am using tripods a lot, and one of the reasons I have all these is I'm trying to find the right one for what I'm using it for, and what I find that I use it for the most is video recording. Whenever I record these episodes, I have my camera on this tripod, typically, outside, inside, wherever. And it's really nice and sturdy. Now today, since I have all these tripods up here, I had to make a makeshift stand, as you can see in the picture, and I keep hoping that my camera's not going to fall over. But this little backpack number is very nice. And then another nice feature of this is that the center comes out and can also be used as a monopod. Well, I'm not sure it can be a monopod, but it can be a selfie stick, because this does come out too, and it extends. It extends to a reasonable height. I'm not sure. Again, I'll put the number on the screen, just how high it goes. And this is the smallest setting right here, as you can see. So it's a handy tripod to have. So I hope this little tour of my tripod collection, it's almost laughable that I have this many, and the whole idea was I don't use tripods. I am finding that I use them more because I'm doing more video, probably that's the reason. But I hope that this has been somewhat helpful to you, and you'll check in on my next episode of Photography and Technology Tools. Thank you.